like, yeah, I could tell you anything right now, and you would go, yeah, you're right. You know, I don't know if I told you about this story, but I was doing a workshop in Oregon, and this lady, she was having outing problems with her dog, right? And I'm like, she's like, he doesn't want to out, and I'm like, look, just put your finger in your mouth and give him a wet willy. And the dog just like popped off the bite, right? And he's like, what? He outed with that? And I was like, it's only going to work one time. She did it again. It wouldn't work. Right. But I was like, she was like, do you use that? I was like, no, but I just knew you were going to do it because you're just listening to whatever I'm telling you. I was laughing about it, but you know, I'm like, people, they'll do whatever you say, you know? And I think as trainers, we have to be careful about that too. You know, you got to be cautious.
You're the young guy in the game, right? You're 30.
I'm going to be 35 this month. So.
Yep, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But all these people I talk to are always the older guys, right? Avi and Frank Phillips and these guys. They're the guys who've been doing this for a long time. But you're doing something interesting because when I watch you train and I watch you compete and I watch you with your dogs, you're doing what I was thinking like 11, 12 years ago. I was like, this is the shit. This is what people should do. And now I watch you, and you work Goofy a couple of times, and we met like at least 10, 12 years ago, right? Yeah. And I watch you, and when I watch you, I'm like, that's kind of what I wanted to do a long time ago. Now, more people are doing it now, but how did you get into it? Like, what made you change your way and get into this method of training?
I mean, I've trained with some really good trainers. Forrest Mickey is one of the people that I learned a lot from, and you know, looking back at like some of the Michael Ellis stuff, and you know, doing things with lower levels of arousal with dogs and all that, trying to teach with lower levels of arousal instead of when the dog's in front of the decoy. That was something that always caught my eye, and I was obsessed with training, so I was like, how can I do these things at home? So I started training a lot at home by myself with secondary reinforcers and all that. And what that means to the people that are listening that don't know is, you know, when you're training the dog, you know, using value away from you, meaning the dog has to focus on you in order to access the reward that's away from you. And that's very hard for some dogs. And sometimes we expect the dogs to just understand things when it's in a high state of arousal, when it's all amped up for the decoy. And I think it's unfair for the dog. So for me, it was always like, how can I teach the dog before actually putting them in front of the decoy and doing all that? And, you know, even with pet dogs and all that stuff, I use a lot of that to proof a lot of my work with secondary reinforcers. You know, it's very easy to train a dog when he's just focused on what you have, food, and there's nothing outside away from you. And then once you go into the real world, it's like now you're competing with all these other things. Right. So I think it's very very smart to train with secondary reinforcers. So I think but I got it because I needed to train more. Right. And I trained with some good trainers that I was able to see what they were doing and, you know, got some good ideas from it.
But your methodology, I think it's common in among the top guys. Yeah. Right. Obviously, you know, and I think any good trainer, they say there's nothing the only thing two dog trainers can agree on is the third one's wrong. But I think that's incorrect. I mean, I haven't seen much stuff that you do that I disagree with, or some of the top guys. And in this show, I really try to bring people out who I don't care about dog trainers, right? I mean, you can watch a dog trainer on YouTube or whatever. It's good, bad, or indifferent. I really like to talk to people who are different, right? Who are making a difference. And I think, turning 35, yeah, 2-time regional champion in a row, right? That's really amazing. I'm intrigued by you. I really like what you're doing. I really enjoy watching you when I pull up your Instagram and I see you doing a little something, like you got the decoys there and you're doing a nice focused heel. Yeah. There's less pressure on the dog. You're able to bring out a nice level of aggression, a nice level of focus, but they're independent yet interdependent on what you're doing. Right. Tell me, like, when you first got started in training, like what was your first exposure to it? Like, was it I'm going to train my pet dog, or was it I'm going to get into bite work? Because I know there's a little story there.
Yeah, I mean, I when I first got into dogs, it was more like, I just want to make sure that this dog doesn't go bite somebody. And my introduction to it was very yank and crank, I was watching the trainer that I was working with was, really going hard on the dogs, and it just didn't make sense to me that, that he was doing all this and the dog was just not getting it, And so I was like, I was always trying to get better at whatever I was doing. And me coming with the Corso, I was like, well, I can't correct my dog like that because she's definitely going to shut down. I mean, they're very handler sensitive. And so I was like, I need to figure out ways to get this dog a little more excited for me and all that. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why I shifted. And I think really what it comes down to it is I am obsessed with dog training. And so I was always trying to find better ways to get things done. And I think all the top guys are, when I think of Francis Metcalf, who I really look up to, he's really outside the box, and he sees things different. And I would watch all his videos while I was at work at Northrop Grumman. I would be on YouTube watching training videos all night because I was on third shift. So, I don't know. I think that's really where it comes from, is just wanting to get better.
Yeah.
And not be as hard on the dog.
Was it a conflict to you? Because you said something, I'd worked with dogs for a while, and then I was really doing a lot of stuff in shelters. And sometimes you got to be hard on a dog. I'm not saying, I'm definitely in no way saying people should do positive only training. I think it should be very balanced. But was it a conflict to you watching somebody who's a professional cranking out of these dogs, like really putting all this pressure on these dogs and thinking it's wrong?
You know what? Honestly, in the beginning, it wasn't, because I just thought they knew what they were doing.
Right.
And I was just like, nah, that's how it's done. And, but I just know that when I'm doing it, I don't enjoy my training session. Yeah. And I noticed the difference when I see the dog learn and he's picking it up and I'm getting it and I'm like, oh man, this is nice.
Yeah.
And when I'm being hard on the dog, yesterday, I took out Rogan and, we're going to do some bite work stuff. And I was trying to do some obedience while he was there and he wasn't getting it. And I got a little frustrated, and I came back and I realized that, you know what, I need to go back and keep working this, because obviously he's not where he's supposed to be for me to be asking these things of him.
Now, Rogan's your younger dog,
yeah,
right?
He's my younger Malinois that I'm working right now.
Is he Guapo's son?
No, he's not a Guapo's son.
Oh, I thought he was. Okay.
He's out of a dog named Grisby that I really liked, and that's why I picked him up. But so anyways, going back to that, I realized that he's not there yet, and I got to go, okay, I need to go back and work on this. So my next couple, but also while raising him, I noticed he was a little soft towards me. So I did nothing but bite work for the last 3 months.
Okay.
Obedience just at home, not on the field. So now I go, okay, he's a little harder now. He's not that soft. He's not as sensitive to my corrections. So I'm going to go back now and I'm going to work on all these other things and then bring it back and put it all together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. I think it's a good approach, right? So you sometimes have to go back and, I think one of the issues I have with dog training is a one-tiered approach. And I see it a lot, whether it's in the shelter and competitive world or in pet dogs. It's like, this is what we're going to do. And it's a one-trick pony, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a prong collar, and it's going to be e-collar, it's going to be this and that. And that balance, like working those finer points is important, and be able to ping pong back and forth. Like, so you said the dog was softer.
Yeah.
Rogan.
Yeah, Rogan's soft. Yeah.
Right. And so you did bite work to bring out some natural defensive drives in him?
I didn't want him ever doubting himself in the bite work. And so therefore, if I added any pressure, he would always be indecisive if he should go bite or he should, be focused on me. So I said, you know what? I'm going to leave that alone for now. I'm just going to let him focus on biting, really get him into that, and then go back to, some more obedience stuff.
Yeah. And when you do the bite work early on, you do it with yourself, or you like somebody else working your dog?
For the sport work,
yeah.
And because I get asked this all the time, like, is it okay for me to do bite work with my own dog? It depends on what your goal is with that dog and that type of dog. Luca, the Rottweiler that I had, that I gave to my friend Christian, he wasn't a dog that you could work yourself. He would just naturally go into this more aggression, and so it was just not a good situation. Rogan, Guapo, I do all the foundation myself, and then I start putting them on different decoys and everything.
Well, it depends on the dog. I mean, really, it's an important piece people don't look. I mean, I always say don't do it yourself, because not only that, the aggression thing. I just worry people don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, that's another thing. Right? I know what I'm doing.
Right.
At least I think I know what
you
I'm doing.
Definitely know what you're doing.
So I people ask me, should I work on myself? And I go, you know what? I probably wouldn't do it unless it's something that's going to be very, like if you're working on barking, you know, and teaching the dog how to bark and then just biting a pillow or something. But it's very, how the steps are very clear. This is what you're going to do, then this, that's it.
Right.
Nothing else. I don't need you buying a sleeve. I don't need you doing any of that. Right. Don't do any of that.
Right.
We're just going to put a couple of things in place that are going to make it easier for us.
Yeah. You said something before that I thought was really intriguing, and I think people always miss this, and this is where your knowledge with different breeds works a lot. You're real knowledgeable with the blockheads, right? Mm-hmm. Like the Corsos and stuff like that. And you said that you can't be that hard on the Corso because they're more sensitive.
Yeah.
But people always perceive the Corsos to be less sensitive, don't they? That's what I've seen.
I think the people that know about the Corsos, they understand that they're a little more. I mean, they're a Mastiff breed. They're a little more sensitive. Meaning, if you could speak to them the wrong way, and they'll they'll kind of. So you definitely have to approach it different. That's and completely different than maybe like a bulldog or something like that. Those are two different breeds.
So let's talk about that, because I think that's a really good piece. People always put like the bulldog with the mastiffs.
No,
but they're not.
No,
right? So what's the difference there?
I mean, I think from my experience, and I don't have a ton with bulldogs and everything, but I feel like they're a little more gamey. Mm-hmm. They get a little more whenever they're biting or something. They're just like zoned out into where the Corso's not. He's very aware of what's going on.
Yeah. So where do you think this came from? I'm throwing this way out at you. The original Sentry dogs were the Mollisers, right? Were these big Corsos. Yeah. And now they've changed it where really all the protection dogs now are Shepherds.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a very there's this whole story behind every breed that they say, oh, this was the warrior dog, right. And the Corso was just, they were built to fight and all this stuff. And then you realize, like, I mean, from what we see now, they're not that hard of a dog. Like if you were to ask me, what would you think is a harder dog, a Corso or a Rottweiler? I would say a Rottweiler
for sure.
From my experience, just because of the Corso was it was a farm dog. They got brought back. Not long ago, actually.
Really? No, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they started bringing them back, back in, what was it, like late 80s, early 90s. So there's like videos of them like doing like a recovery for the breed, and they're bringing all these dogs in and they start breeding them. So like if you look at a Corso pedigree, probably doesn't go as far back as like if you look at a pit bull or that type of stuff. So you got to understand, and they come from farms. Yeah. So in Italy. Yeah. So they're probably they weren't as social as all these other dogs. Now the Corso's getting better because of breeding and the way that, people are raising them. Yeah. They're a little more social. But even when I got into it, what was it, 13 years ago, whatever it was, 12 years ago, you'll see a lot of skittish Corsos. I mean, they'd walk around with their bellies close to their stomach because they have, that's just the genetics. Wow. So you would have to, find the right bloodlines to, be able to do the work.
You think people are doing a good job breeding them now? Like, is there more good or more bad breeding going on, you think?
From my experience, I think there's the quality of the dogs have gotten a lot better.
Why do you think they got such a negative stereotype, like the Presa Canaries who are attacking people and this stuff? I mean, people tend to lump all dogs into one, right? Like a Presa Canary is the same as a Cane Corso, is the same as a bulldog, is the same as a pit bull. Yeah. I mean, I see it in the shelter all the time. Every dog's got a blockhead to pit bull.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see the cropped ears, the dock tail. I mean, obviously that's just going to give you a wrong look no matter what. And if you look at, movies and all that stuff, they're always going to show the pit bulls barking and doing all that. And I think that puts bad light on the breed. Yeah.
I think the problem too is I think people see that and then like the tough guy's got to get the tough dog. Like you never see a guy like us with poodles, right? I mean,
right. I have a golden doodle now.
But you had a poodle.
I did. I had a multi-poodle. Yeah.
He was a multi-poodle?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah. That's one of the things I liked about you. I thought if you can have a dog like that, you're all right in my
that was my first dog, man.
That Mister was your first dog? Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, that I actually kept,
Yeah. How old was Mister when he died?
12.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you were really down about it. I mean,
yeah.
What a cool looking, because you, on the first podcast, people should watch it. You lifted him up at the end. And you gave him some props. He was a really nice dog.
Yeah, he's a good dog.
Yeah, he's a nice dog. So let's go into this. You train everything from Malinois to the Corsos. I want to kind of talk about the Corsos in protection.
Okay.
Because I've seen some really nice ones doing protection, and I'm always impressed by those dogs when they do it. Like a Malinois German Shepherd, I kind of expect it. Like when they do bad, you're like, what's wrong with this dog? But when I see a Corso doing it, I'm intrigued. What should people who want to get into the sport and they want to go with a different breed, like what should they be looking for? What should they be thinking differently than if they were going to train a Mal?
That's a good question. I mean, I think you definitely have to go in with the mentality of it's still a dog, and you're still going to look for good qualities that you would look for in a Malinois. I mean, as best as, with the Corso, it might not be the exact same, but, I just got a puppy right now that's going to be a little dog that I'm going to be raising, and, he has firm grip right off the bat. He's possessive. I like that. He's not going to chase. I mean, he chases the rag, but not like I had a Malinois too last week that I had for a couple of days, and he was just like latched onto my pants. I'm not expecting that from the Corso.
Right.
And so you got to go into with real expectations,
Well, let's talk about this, because there is a different expectation. Like we always think we got to build this drive, rag work, get the dog to, be excited and then bite.
Right.
What's the difference when you do it with
well,
a Corso?
and I think with the Malinois, you don't really have to do too much of that.
Right.
Too much of that could probably come to, a disadvantage at some point. With a Corso, I think, you want to promote some of that, but then you also want to make sure that you use their natural drives to their advantage, meaning if they're a little more defensive, you could use that too. So you don't have to do a ton of, pray on the beginning. You could use a little bit of pray this is how I do it. I use a little bit of pray. He likes to bite. Cool. And then I let him grow up, and I just play with them a little bit, but I don't overdo it to where it gets boring.
Do you think they're slower to mature than
100%?
Right.
100%.
Right. Like if you were to look at a rationale, like I think German Shepherds and Mals are kind of, I mean, I think Mals are a little slower, but where do you put the Corso compared to like a 3-year-old German Shepherd?
I mean, again, some of them are going to be really good.
For sure.
So Benny, my Corso, he's a little sensitive to certain things. So with him, it was at 3 years old is when I was like actually putting a little more pressure on him and all that. I did a little bit of a bite work when he was younger, but not like when he was 3 is when I actually started working him.
How old is he now?
He's 4.
You titled him?
He has a BH.
Okay.
I went for his one. He wasn't very prepared.
What was the biggest problem for him?
The retrieves.
Oh, retrieves, really?
Yeah. I feel like I shaped it and everything was really good. I didn't proof it enough. I didn't do it in different scenarios where he had already done a whole routine and then he had to go do his retrieves or whatever, or there wasn't actually like a you must do it behind it. There was always like a just bring it back. So what he did was I threw the dumbbell and I think he went and grabbed one from the rack. And then he just like started playing with it, tossed it up and stuff. So yeah, but
and how old is he then?
He had a good time. Right now he's 4 maybe.
But when he did that,
that was just maybe, what was it? 3 months ago? Was it March? March.
I mean, something that's really cool about you is that you've got like a dog that goes regional championships, and then you're humble enough to take a dog in and not and I don't say fail, but I'm saying not pass the test, because there's success in everything we do, right?
Yeah.
And that's something interesting about you. That's rare to see that.
What happened was it was a Connie Corso event, and there wasn't any entered for an actual title. There was only BH dogs entered. So I said, man, you know what? He's close enough. I could wing it. Let's go. And so I started tracking him when I decided to put him in. It's when I actually started tracking, which was like 2 months before, 3 months before something. And he did pretty good. He got a 90, what is it, like a 92 or something.
On tracking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're good. They're naturally really good trackers.
Corsos.
Yeah.
I would have never thought that. Really?
Yeah, they're really good trackers.
Wow.
Yeah, their nose is really good. And then his protection was all right. I think I forgot what he got. He got like 80, 89 or something. Okay. And then his obedience was the one that was just, and he wasn't ready, and I knew he wasn't ready. Yeah. So I went in with the expectation that if we get it, I'll be really happy. If we don't, it's all good. Like, he's not ready, but I wanted to just support the event basically. That's why I answered. Yeah.
So do you think that if you were going to look at the situation with Benny, do you think that, like, of all three phases, would that be your like, it would be my choice, right? If there's one thing I was gonna have to fix with a dog, obedience would be the one to say, okay, that's going to be the easiest, not the easiest one, but the most likely that I'm going to be able to fix. Do you feel that or no?
With Benny, I would say no. That's the thing with like Guapo. Going in with Guapo, I feel very confident. He's a very consistent dog. Yeah. And then you have dogs that are not very, like, they could be really good one day or they could be really bad. And you got to just accept it. Hey, this is what it is. I'm going to prepare as best. But I think obedience, I know I could fix it. I just have to tweak some things around and actually put in the work. I mean, 3 months of actual work is nothing. Yeah. So I can't be upset at the dog for not passing. It's all my fault. But I knew going in that we weren't 100% ready. We were like at, I don't know, 40%. Because I would tell anybody, they're like, oh, you're going to get, I'm like, yeah, but it's not going to be, I was like, if I pass, I'll be happy.
Yeah. One thing you said is a common thread in a question that I always try to ask people. How much of it do you think is the training and how much of it do you think is the dog?
I mean, I think it's an equal thing. Like, you got to have a good dog. You got to have good training. You got to have a good team that helps you out with it.
Yeah. So talk about the team.
I mean, you need people that are going to be able to step in, help you out, hold the line, do this, do that. So, I think that's a must when you're going to be competing in sports and whatnot.
I mean, so much of the time I see, like, I mean, I know when I started, you're just, especially starting out, you're so dependent on a team, right? On somebody to guide you, somebody to watch what you're not seeing. Do you mind talking a little bit about your team, like people you work with, you trust?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have a huge team, but I know who I can call on when I need help. Like, Christian, hey, I need you to work my dog. Can you come out? Mario, hey, I need you to come out. And then Nelly, she'll, she's my spotter. She would go tracking with me. So you got to have those people that you can call on for sure.
So let's pick some examples on a team, because somebody's starting out and they want to do IPO, IGP, whatever it's called now. So what do they need?
Well, first of all, you got to find somebody that is going to not look at you as how can I say it?
A threat.
That's it.
Right.
So you got to find somebody that's going to be able to go, that is okay in their own skin and very comfortable in their own skin, that aren't going to feel threatened by you. And so when you're looking for somebody to work with, I think that's the first thing is where are they and how do they treat other people and how do they treat their dogs and look at their dog. That's, to me, that's like that's your business card. Yeah. The dog, if you go out and you see the way they're treating their dog and doing all that, just know that your dog's going to get it too.
Yeah, we talked about that. Remember, we said, I'm not going to mention any names, but you let the wrong guy hold your e-call. And Janet just went through that this weekend. Somebody said, "Oh, let me use your e-call," and she said, "Oh, Robert ain't gonna be too happy. I can't do it."
Yeah,
like, I don't want anybody shocking my dog. Like, there's nothing worse to me than somebody burning or just abusing your dog.
Yeah,
right.
But as a newbie, though, sometimes you go, they know what they're doing, and that's that, And I think you got to learn how to step in for your dog sometimes and go, yo, he's not getting it. If after the second time of him getting corrected or fried on the e-collar or something, he's just not happening, and he's not getting it, just step in and be like, hey, let's stop it. Let's go back. Let's figure this out, because this isn't working, obviously.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because that's I think the number one thing that I always try to preach to people. If you're not your dog's advocate, nobody's your dog's advocate. Your dog's only got you.
That's it.
Like, you can go get another dog. Your dog can't go get another person. And nothing upsets me more than when I see somebody hand their e-collar to somebody and they're burning their dog, or yanking their dog and doing all this stuff. And they're frustrated. Most of it all comes from ego, right? It's all bullshit. It's all ego. So they're correcting these dogs. So as a person who's come from, in very recent years, from obscurity, And you've now, in Southern California, really made a huge name for yourself. I mean, Avi was here, he talks about you. People know who you are. What was your journey? Like, how did you have the balls to go to somebody, hey, dude, don't do that to my dog? I mean, I just did it because I intimidated him.
I think what ended up happening was it kind of sucks because I didn't want it to be this way, but very, very fast I turned into like I had to just do my own training, just because I'm not gonna mention any names, but maybe somebody felt a little threatened, or you know what I'm saying, and they felt like, oh, he doesn't need my help anymore. He could do it on his own, and I started getting so very quick. I started doing my own thing, and I started training with my own people. I did train with Joseph Sinante a lot, and so it was just he and I that were the ones training, working with each other's dogs, and so that happened for a long time, and we trusted each other. So I didn't really have to deal with that, but I did, like, I would go to a seminar here and there, and I did make the mistake sometimes of handing my remote to somebody, and I was like, dang, and after I would be like, oh man, I should have never done that, and now it doesn't happen too much because I'm usually the one that's running my own program. But for new people, I think it's something that just happens all the time. And like I always laugh because I tell people, like, yeah, I could tell you anything right now, and you would go, yeah, you're right. I don't know if I told you about this story, but I was doing a workshop in Oregon, and this lady, she was having outing problems with her dog, right? And I'm like, she's like, he doesn't want to out, and I'm like, look, just put your finger in your mouth and give him a wet willy, and the dog just like popped off the bite, right? And he's like, what? He outed with that? And I was like, it's only gonna work one time. She did it again, it wouldn't work. Right. But I was like, she was like, do you use that? I was like, no, but I just knew you were gonna do it because you're just listening to whatever I'm telling you. I was laughing about it, but I'm like, people, they'll do whatever you say, and I think as trainers we have to be careful about that too. You got to be cautious.
Yeah, I really want to. I mean, if I could help anybody in any way, I always tell people, just, man, be your dog's advocate. I've said it like 3 times already today. And I mean, how do you get more people to get that? How do you, like there's good information out there. I watch your videos. Your videos are very, very good to help people start to understand. I hope sometime you're going to do a protection site, and we'll help you with that. Because I think, like, I don't do protection stuff I do obedience, problem solving, all that stuff, but I think a really good site based on these are the concepts that you need to do, and you're able to explain stuff really well. I think it's really important for people to get that. Be your dog's advocate.
Yeah, and I think it's good, like you said, like with all your stuff, online and everything. I know we get a bunch of clients that, we work with, we're on Robert Cabral's site, so, and you could already see that they kind of get an idea of what's going on. So I think all these things are going to help people, to not, and some people, I mean, they'll tell you straight up, hey, nah, I don't feel comfortable with you doing this to my dog. And I think that's what it's supposed to be about. And so if I get somebody and they go, hey, I'd rather not use an e-collar with my dog, I go, okay, cool. We'll figure it out. We'll play with different things. And I think that's what makes good trainers is like, I don't care if you take that away from me. I'm going to figure out another way to do it, and as best as I can. And I think that's what it's about.
I think bad trainers can't. I mean, and again, when I was at the shelter, everything was taken away from me. You got a bag of treats and a line, slip lead. That's it. That's it. You don't know what figure it out. And the people who could figure that out, I think, really had it. But also, one thing we talked about, and people have kind of criticized you on, the sport thing. How does that apply to everything? I think the sport thing applies to everything. Like, I see somebody like you, I would have you training my pet dog before I'd have some other guy training it, because you really understand the dog, the drives, the temperament, the breed, and everything. I mean, do you get that quite a bit, or?
Yeah, I mean, usually from other pet dog trainers, that don't do any type of sport work or anything like that. But I mean, it's very easy to see what they're doing. I mean, there was a local trainer, that was bashing sport dog trainers and saying that, pet dog training is completely different. Listen,
It ain't.
If learning theory and the way the dog learns, I mean, that's going to be it's going to be the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's not like I mean, if you know how to, the way I see it is if I know how to race, if I know how to drive a race car,
yeah,
in NASCAR,
yeah, you can drive Uber.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Right.
it just doesn't make any sense to me. But I see why they're doing it. I see why they're putting up these these excuses and trying to make us seem like we don't know what we're doing. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I think a lot of this information on the internet, I mean, there's information out there now that I could have never gotten 10, 12 plus years ago when I was just getting started, or you.
Yeah.
Where now anybody is starting. The only problem now is it's kind of like news, right? So now it's like it goes from no news to like too much news. Like there's too much information. And I think a lot of that stuff is polluted by these trainers. And we're on the same page who they are. I'm not going to mention their names, but they're out there with these theories and they're like spouting. And the one thing I can't stand, and it's hard for me to criticize, but is motivational speakers. Like they're dog trainers, but they're telling you how to make $1 million, how to drive a nice car.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I just got somebody just sent me an ad like of this dog trainers. Like I made $8,500 on my first month with this client. And I'm just like, what? Like
crook.
Yeah. Like stop.
Right. I mean, I think, it just, I mean, it just gets me so disgusted when I see, everybody's a life coach. Right. Yeah. I mean, dude, you're a dog trainer. Like that's what I do. I train dogs. I love training dogs. I'm passionate like you about just training these dogs. And you keep it real. Like, you are out there, you're doing the work, you're paying your dues, you're cutting your teeth, and you're doing stuff. I don't see you ever talk about, I made this so much money, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You're humble. And I think that's a huge quality that you got. That's cool.
I don't know if it's, and I was thinking about this a couple of weeks ago too, man. I was like, is it a bad thing that I'm like this, like
no,
not wanting to, if I have something, I don't want to, like, I feel weird posting about it. Like how I see other people posting about it. It's just not me.
Yeah. No, it ain't.
But I think, if you love what you do and you just want to help, people, I think good things happen. That's just it. And, to the young trainers that are listening, that, are starting their businesses or whatever, I got it. I think we talked about it before. I did get into a place when I first started the pet dog stuff, where I was just counting numbers. I was like, I need to bring in this much to be this much, and it just got frustrating, man. I remember sitting by the phone. Are they going to call me back? And it was like never happened. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I just started not caring about that, just worrying about my training, and good things start happening. And then you start helping other people.
Yeah.
And just things just happen, I think, when you really care about what you're doing and you care about the dogs and the people and everything, just things start happening,
What was your childhood like? Like, forget about the story we
Yeah.
talked about just before. I don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, like, what was your childhood like? Like, where were you raised? What was your family like? Because that's something that's really intriguing to me about you. You got like a core. There's a core about you that reminds me of me, and I like it.
So I grew up in, I was born in Inglewood, California. My parents both came from Mexico. When I was when I was born, my mom says that we didn't have any money, so to my dad. They said my mom told me that they would live off $20 a week. By the time everything was paid, they only had $20 a week left. So, anyways, we had to go back to Mexico for a couple of years. Came back. My dad was a machinist. Always worked hard. Now, from what I remember, I grew up in it's in Carson, Scottsdale. It's a 600 unit. It's kind of like
a project,
the projects a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I grew up there. I always loved dogs. So when I would go to Mexico in summers, I would collect dogs, bring them to my grandma's house,
right.
But growing up in Scottsdale, and in the projects or whatever, I did have like a hustle, you know what I'm saying? Like I would sell fireworks or I would do this. And I always thought that the whole thing was just work. I get a job. I never thought about college. That was just something that, got never instilled in me. It was always like, you're going to get a job, work overtime, get your bills paid, blah, 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 whatever. And so that's what it was about, you know. And growing up, I was around like shooting. I did see, you know, shootings, drive-bys. I've been in a couple drive-bys that, you know, I got really lucky a couple times.
Yeah.
Not that they were shooting at me, but I was
Yeah,
just
still
there.
luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But something that I always loved were the dogs. Like I can't remember most of the names of people, but I remember the dogs.
Right. Right.
And I talk back to my friends. I'm like, I remember you always used to talk about dogs. You used to always be into dogs, and you know, it was just meant to be. One thing that I can say is that I think growing up, my parents they were going to church, and they were always. My dad was always at work. My mom was always like hounding me. Like she would like if I would be out in the streets, she would be out looking for me. She didn't, you know. So that for me is now that I look back, I'm like, man, that really, like, you know, that made a huge difference because, you know, I see some of my friends that didn't have their parents, or, you know, they got split up and this, and they didn't all have, you know, the same outcome.
Yeah.
And so I think that probably is one of the things that helped me out a lot, was by both of my parents.
They were hard parents, right?
Yeah, my dad was always a hard worker. And
was he strict with you?
He was. I mean, he was strict, but I think my mom was probably the one that was always, you know.
Yeah, my mom was a ball.
Yeah, so she was always on me while he was at work.
Yeah.
And I would always be mad, man. I would be like, man, my dad's never at my games. Like whenever I go play something, he's never around or whatever. And now that I look back, I'm like, yo, he was hustling. He had 5 kids.
Wow.
That he had to put food on the table for, and now I'm like, man, I'm grateful that that's, you know.
Well, he put good values in you because you work hard. But what made you like? I'm always intrigued by people like who, like I'm first generation American. I'm born to immigrant parents. Like this, the hustle in people like us, like I think we just, like, I was brought up very, very lower middle class, and you were brought up beneath that even.
Yeah.
But, you know, the great thing about America is you can kind of like, boom, you make a decision, you work hard, you know, you don't play the victim and you do it.
Man, I just, I'm amazed by how blessed I am. You know, sometimes I feel like I don't deserve it, you know, but I'm like, man, God has blessed me so much.
Amen.
With my family, you know, I have a really good wife, you know, my kids, and I'm just like, man, I don't deserve this. Now I have a really good team and Elevated that's like helping me out, you know, and I'm so blessed, man, to do what I love to do. I was at a job where I was making some decent, you know, some good money, but I wasn't happy. Now I get to, you know, run Elevated and, you know, work with dogs and people all the time. And yeah, man, I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but saying that I'm just a blessed guy.
Yeah. But you appreciate the blessing, because I think that's a big piece people don't do, right?
Yeah. And I think that another thing too is, you know, making sure you give back. Like I always try to like give back, and I don't have to promote it. I don't have to, you know, this isn't so I can get something, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like, to me that is the best part of it, that you could give back, whether it be, I'm going to give a quick, we have time. I don't know how much time we have left, but, so when my parents, when they were here to be able to buy their first home, they needed to have some money in the bank. And they had some friends that they met at church, and these friends let them borrow $3,000 to put into their account so that they could buy this house in Scottsdale, in the projects. And then, you know, forward now, what was it, 3 months ago, I get a call. My mom's telling me this story, and then this time I hear that they just got a dog.
The people who loaned them the $3,000 bucks. Oh,
so I reached out to them. I said, hey, I don't like, well, they were looking for a dog.
Okay.
And I said, hey, I want to buy you the dog, and I want to train him for you. They're like, what? And anyways, they ended up getting their own dog, but now we're able to train him for them. They didn't, you know, I didn't charge them anything. They were like, what? They were like, I was like, I'm so happy that I'm able to give back. And I talked to them, and I was like, you know, my mom told me about the story and everything, and this is just a way for me to pay you guys back for, you know, for that. And they're like, man, it's crazy how everything just like goes around. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So,
sure.
Yeah, they looked at the prices. They're like, whoa. They're like, thank you. You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, I'm just so happy that I'm able to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, you give back. I think you give back also in the sense that when you, and I think this is giving back, is you're honest with people, right? You're an ethical, honest guy. When you work with somebody's dog, they're going to get their money's worth. And I think a lot of trainers don't. I mean, I think a lot of trainers spin people's wheels all the time. I see
Yeah.
I think it's a very vulnerable business for people. You know, they
100%.
this guy's got a good website, he's got to be good. And how many dogs get very below mediocre training, but also how many dogs get really ruined? Like, you know, they get too much pressure, too much corrections and stuff like that. Where yours, and again, I'm not here to talk about your pet dog training. I'm here to talk about your you know, your character and your abilities as a competitor. So, and I think, if I'm not wrong, I think your core of who you are, church-going guy, you know, parents raised you well, I think that taps into the way you train, live with, and compete with your dogs. Am I wrong on that?
I think definitely there's a sense of me of like, when I feel that I'm not doing something right, I'm like, I need to change this. I can't be doing this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think very early, cause I was harder on dogs, and I still am sometimes. I could, be a little heavy handed, and I'm like, yo, like I get like pain on my neck. You know what I mean? Like when I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah. And so I think that definitely, I guess I could just reflect back and go, yo, you need to change this. You need to do this, and I definitely think that that comes from, my ethics and morals that were instilled in me.
Yeah. I mean, you're a good family guy. I always see pictures of your kids. You love your kids. You love your wife. I mean, you're married to your best friend, right? Yeah. I mean, like, how much better could it be than that?
Yeah. And I think, and I don't want people to think I have like this perfect life either.
Nobody
we
does.
we all have our issues, and, I have, things that I need to get better on and all that. But yeah, overall, I would say that I'm very blessed.
Well, I mean, I think that's the key. I mean, is saying you're blessed is the number one thing, right? We always give thanks, and your faith. I mean, I'm really intrigued by that. I didn't even know that about you before. That, like, your faith and your core beliefs, I think, really shape who you are and makes me admire you for what you do. But so, what do you think? Where are you heading? Like, what's the future going to be? You're 35. You got like more. I remember I said to you, you got more in front of you than behind you. I got more behind me.
I like to, that's why I think you're one of the people that I look up to, and I'm like, I was trying to hang out with you a little more and ask you questions and everything. I like what you're doing, so maybe someday I would like to be, kind of what you're doing, putting out videos to help more people.
Yeah.
We'll see when that happens, little by little. As far as competitions go and all that, I think I'm just having fun with the dogs right now. I have Rogan, who I'm working, and
how old is Rogan now?
He's 10 months.
Okay.
I'll probably get probably a couple PDC, PSA 1 or something, and but I'm starting to. While I really enjoy it, I think I'd rather focus on a couple other things like videos and all that stuff. So
I want to go into the video stuff too with you too. Let's talk about PSA.
Yeah,
because it's different than Schutzhund, right?
Yeah, way different.
So you got the ring sports, then you get French and Belgian and Mondial, then you've got the Schutzhund, the IPO, IGP, whatever they call it now, and then you've got PSA.
Yeah.
Right. So tell me a little bit about PSA. I'm intrigued by that.
Well, PSA is it's a biting sport, and there's a bunch of scenarios just like every other sport, and their biggest thing is the decoy neutrality. Your dog should be into you, and there's decoys agitating and all that, and it's a good sport. A lot of pressure on the dogs. The scenarios could be a little confusing sometimes.
Give me an example.
For example, I've seen some in a trial they'll have a decoy throw something inside a kiddie pool with water in it, and your dog's supposed to go retrieve it. Or
you want him to retrieve it.
Like, yeah, you got to ask your dog to go retrieve it while the decoy is right there. He's supposed to go retrieve the item from the pool. You know what I'm saying?
And
or
not
things like
bite
that.
the decoy.
Yeah, and not bite the decoy. Yeah. Or the decoy is going to be maybe agitating or something, and you're supposed to send him into a hold and bark, where in Schutzhund the guy's always like neutral, not moving at all. Things like that are I think to me it's a good challenge. I think dogs are smart, and I think we could teach them a lot more than what we normally do. And now the difference is from IPO to PSA is maybe in IPO they're way more strict in your handling, your position of the dog. They're more precise in the obedience, but they don't have all the distractions that PSA has.
Okay.
The PSA doesn't have tracking. IPO has tracking.
People love that.
Yeah. So, but I think, I mean, PSA is definitely a sport that I see you need a harder dog for me, I think, in my opinion. In IPO, you could have a dog that's not super hard and you could still get club titles 1, 2, and 3. And the dog, doesn't require a ton of, how can I say, like a hard dog.
Right.
So when PSA, I feel like even at the PDC level, there's a lot of pressure.
Which is level 1, right?
Yeah. And now we started this thing called the Canine Street League. I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah. What's that?
Me and Mike at Primal Canine, we started this thing called the Canine Street League, and it's going to be another sport, but we want to bring in a little more of like street side to it. So maybe like hidden suits.
Okay.
That type of stuff to it. We're still in the development side.
So it's something you're actually doing. You're trying to develop this as a sport.
Myself and Mike at Primal Canine.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's protection only, or is it going to be obedience?
No, there's going to be some obedience.
Okay.
Yeah, there's going to be some obedience and some protection. Yeah.
Now you do tracking, and I think one of the things that people don't know if you don't live in Southern California is tracking's really hard to do.
Yeah.
Right. I was talking with Vadim.
Yeah.
Right, from USCA, and he's like, "Oh, tracking this," and then Frank's like, "Oh yeah, tracking. I love tracking." Everybody loves tracking. I would love to do tracking, but like, there's nowhere to go tracking.
Yeah, no, there's not much. When I was preparing for the regionals, I would have to get home from work because I was still working, and then I remember I would have to go to a park, lay my track.
So you did it in a public park.
Public park, yeah.
Really?
I'm not very good at tracking. I mean,
well, I beg to differ.
but I'm not very good at. But I just had to work with whatever I got.
Wow.
So like that was my tracking. And then sometimes I would lay the track, and I remember I would lay the track, and some lady would get there and start throwing the ball for her dog, and I'm just like, oh crap. I'm like, dang. All right, I'm just gonna run it anyway, see what happens, and so it's not very smart, but. That's literally what I would do. And then on weekends, I would go to Prado Park, and even the tracking there was all messed up already because so many people, that's all we have. So a bunch of people go track there.
Yeah.
But for Wapo, I think it helped him because, there was like trash around and everything. And he learned, how to track where there's a lot of conflict. And so when we would go to competition, I mean, if it was, not super hard conditions, I mean, he would do fairly well.
Yeah. Do you do any other things with your dogs? Like when I got Goofy, I wanted him to have an IPO title, but I never got him far enough because I wish I'd had a helper like you.
Yeah.
I would have got him further, but I said I want him to always enjoy what he's doing. That was my number one goal. I said, if I'm going to have a dog, this dog has to love what he's doing, or else I'm not doing it for me, right? I never did it for the ego, like I need a tough dog. I wanted the dog to love doing it,
Right.
So I started doing different things with my dog. I thought, okay, I'm going to do, little trick dog stuff and little AKC stuff. And then I started doing little, obedience stuff. And I like having a demo dog. With your dog, and how old is Guapo now?
Guapo's 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Now, you going to compete with him some more still, obviously, right?
I'll be doing some PSA with him.
Okay.
I was debating going to the Malinois Championships, but I don't know yet. I don't know if I'm going to do it.
No.
It's like... It's down in the East Coast somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think, and I'm just like, I don't know if I want to do it, but maybe we'll see.
You should.
Yeah,
you should.
I did put a lot of time into him, so maybe I should.
You still got another good 1 or 2 good years on him, right?
For sure.
And you should do it. But do you do other things with him too? Like because you do PSA, right?
Yeah, PSA, and then with Wapo, I mean, other than taking him out to the park, just throwing the ball for him and stuff like that. Cool. But no, I'm actually I've been like I was telling you earlier, when I first got into dogs, I wanted to do like service dog work.
Yeah.
Like maybe go to the hospitals or something.
So cool.
I think that's something that I would want to go back to at some point. And who knows, maybe my golden doodle.
Yeah.
Could probably pull it off. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. But, with your training for sure.
Yeah, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm kind of guilty of like I got into sport, like the protection sports, and I kind of got stuck a little bit. And now I feel like I want to get into different things.
So the last thing, we could talk forever, and we will. You'll be back. We're gonna do this. First of all, we can hang out anytime you want, right? You're up here. We're gonna hang out. You're a good person, and I admire you as a trainer too. That I'm saying that on camera. I said it off camera 100 times. Tell me I'll tell you one of my greatest fears. Right? I have 2 fears in sports with dogs. Mainly is their injuries.
Yeah.
Right. And I've seen it. right? I've seen, like, for example, like, I think, and I'm the biggest fan of Schutzhund. I had Vadim on. I love USCA. I think it's an amazing sport. And I want to bounce this idea off you because you're a guy, I've seen you catch really fast dogs. You, Christian too, I saw him at the regionals. He did a good job. It's whenever it pains me. Yeah. It literally pains me when I see a Malinois going for a long bite. Yeah. I just go, oh, it's like just before a car crash, I go, oh, I know something bad's going to happen. Yeah. But I've seen you catch so many Malinois. Yeah. With never an issue.
No, there's been issues.
There's been issues. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I've jammed a couple of dogs for sure.
Okay. So tell me though, like what you, and a lot of these old guys, and I'm not doubting them. They're really good, but you're a young guy. You move fast, right? Yeah. You catch faster. What? And in Schutzhund, I mean, when Schutzhund's going on, I mean, I watch Maya go in for a bite, and it's a great speed for a long bite, right? I don't think it's going to be an issue. But what do you see as the difference? Like, how can you tell somebody who's a decoy, somebody's going to work that dog, to keep that dog safe?
Man, that's a tough one. So for me, the times I can recall where things went bad, like in a trial, for me, was times when I was trying to show off a little bit. And I remember it was a trial at North County, and Tyler Pless's dog, I forgot his name was, but anyways, he was coming down for a long bite, and he just kind of read me, and I slipped, and I remember that I kind of jammed the dog. It wasn't too bad. I was able to absorb the hit because ultimately, but I fell and whatever. Anyways, it was because I got a little too cocky, I want to say, and overconfident. Now,
so when the dog read you, the dog knew you were going to turn to your left.
Yeah, he knew where I was going. Like some dogs just know how to read body language because they and they know how to catch you whatever side you're going. Yeah.
And the right decision would have been to go with what the dog is doing, right?
Okay. And I was just trying to take him to the left only.
Okay, and he was going to go to the right.
And he was going to go to the right
because he knew you were set up for the right.
I mean, he wanted to go to the right. I don't know, but I remember that I slipped, and and again, I was able to just kind of like absorb the hit a little bit. But yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of the thing is too, like new guys, they're trying to look cool for the gram and everything, and I think that's when things can get a little dangerous, So definitely, like, now I set up my dog where I know he's not gonna get hurt like that. Like if somebody new's gonna catch him, I usually put him in the back, and then if I see that they're pretty agile, they know how to fall, then I'll go, okay, cool, I'll send him maybe a little longer, but then that's about it. But before I was kind of done.
When you were saying put him on the back, what do you mean by that?
On the back of the bite, instead of like catching them forward.
Okay.
I'll just in the back because then they'll fall forward.
Oh, I see. But you're saying on a suit bite.
Yeah, on a suit bite.
But what about a sleeve bite?
Man, I'm very careful who I put them on a sleeve bite. Yeah, I don't just put them on anybody. Yeah. The sleeve, I think, is just if the person doesn't know how to move, it's too easy to jam. Because
you're absorbing that right into you, and there's only so far it can go, and then the dog starts to buckle in. When I see you move, I mean, you're literally, boom, you're gone. Right? Yeah. But how hard is that to do?
It's not easy. I think I got it from because I was doing French ring. Oh, okay. And in French ring, they actually teach the dog to like not get skeeved. So the dog is very...
Okay, tell people what skeeved is, because it's...
Skeeved is when you to make the dog... You try to make the dog miss. Right. So the dog very quick learns that if you move one way, you're probably going to go the other way, and he's going to catch you. And so
it's like a dance, right? Yeah. Like the dog's trying to bite you, and you're trying to push the dog away from you.
You're trying to move away from the dog so he doesn't bite you. So very quick, I learned how to move out of the way and everything. So I think that helped me a lot when I was learning.
IPO.
French ring helped me for IPO.
That's what I mean. Yeah. By being able to move and read those dogs, because in IPO you're pretty much standing still, right?
They want you to. You're supposed to be running towards the dog,
right? On a long bite.
Yeah, on the long bite. Yeah. I think. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. It could be. I mean, unless you have somebody like Marcus Hampton, who's probably the top helper in the U.S. I think, you never know, and something can go wrong at any minute in dog sport. Yeah.
It's the scariest thing to me. And always when I see the Malinois, I mean, when I watch the Malinois Nationals, I mean, those guys like Marcus catching, and even you catching, and I see it, I think, man, they really need to do, and I think USCA, I think the AWMA, everybody should be doing more seminars, because I think more people would do the sport. know? I mean, if people would all catch like you or these top guys, it's so dangerous to see a dog jam. I mean, it can cost a dog's life. Right?
Yeah. I heard some stories of dogs, you know,
really
like staying on the field like that. I broke their neck, you know, and that was it.
Oh man.
So it comes with the comes with the territory, and I think like now I think in French ring they want dogs to not be so fast because because they're gonna pull their canines. You know, if they barely grab onto the suit, they flink off. Canine goes with it.
I've wondered about that. That's when I saw a couple dogs on some YouTube stuff. I see them and they got like this real shallow grip, and I think it's got to put pressure on the canines to pop them off, right?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And the thing is, like, we all want fast dogs. I mean, that's just we want fast dogs, but I mean it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying this to Janet the other day. I said, what if you trained a dog? And I saw a dog. I'm not going to say whose it is. I'll tell you after the show. Somebody you and I both know and respect greatly.
Yeah.
I watched this dog coming in for a long bite. And it's a Mal. And this dog, I saw the dog do a go out, you know, like a down on send away, right? And on the Ferraus, he was like, wham! And when plots, boom, he's down. And when he went on his long bite, he just went at like a good pace, right?
Yeah.
Like a good tick, but he wasn't going that fast. And I thought, like, can you do that? Is that something you would ever think about doing? Because my number one thought. I said, I'm going to do a long bite. I want to teach my mouth to not go in as fast. You think that's?
I'm gonna be honest. I haven't thought about that because I want, like, especially like PSA. Like usually they present, you know, and it's usually, you know. But I'm very careful of who I put my dog on, and I set up the situation so that my dog doesn't get jammed.
Yeah.
And if he does get jammed, I'm gonna be yelling at you probably. But
it could be too late.
Yeah, but for example, with Rogan right now, I'm usually sending him. I send him for months over a jump because I know he's. Because he's gonna catch air early, and then he could just present the arm and he's gonna take it. Like every time it's gonna be there. You know.
Okay, explain that to me because I'm not getting that. Okay, so I know the jump part. And I want to talk about that because I think that was brilliant. Right.
Yeah, if like Wapo, for example, Wapo used to bite legs on the suit, and then when he went to the sleeve, he would hit low and would knock. He knocked a couple helpers down.
Okay.
With Rogan, I'm teaching him. I want you to launch from far.
Okay.
That makes it easier on the decoy to catch the dog because the dog's already in the air. You can kind of see it.
Okay.
Instead of if the dog was running in and coming up.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
If he comes in, goes up, it's more probability you're going to jam the dog than if he launches. So I put the jump in front so that the dog learns how to launch over.
That's brilliant.
And
really good.
And it just makes it easier on the decoy to catch the dog.
Okay, so the dog launches, the dog's in the air, and then plus there's less impact, right? Because he's got all that air time, and the decoy can see him and can catch him and can turn with him.
When I'm working with a decoy, I go, just think about a ball, like you're catching a ball,
right?
You know, a baseball or whatever.
Yep.
I was like, this is your glove right here. He's gonna be in the air. Put it up there so that he bites right there.
Right.
I mean,
how much of a difference is, because you keep going back to this bite, right? Because this is the bite for like for PSA or even ring sport, right? There's ring sport you can bite on the chest.
Ring sport, you want to teach almost like a chest bite.
Center mass.
Yeah, you don't want them to get skeeved.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. But Mondio, there's no skeeving, right?
There's no skeeving, no.
Right, at all. It's only in French.
Yeah, I mean, there's no skeeving in Mondio, but
right,
they'll still do it. So you got to make sure you train for it.
Okay. So but if let's flip this around to IGP Schutzhund, right? That arm is dead in front,
always there,
right?
Yeah.
How do you teach?
Well,
the dog
now they have they have those sleeves with the
wedges
with the wedge that you can just kind of move to the side.
Right.
So I do it like that. I just present it and always move it kind of to the left and just always take them to the left.
Okay, so here's the thing. What if you get a guy who's got a sleeve on the right hand?
A guy that has a sleeve on the right hand, you got to train for that.
You do?
That's
right?
rare.
And do you do that?
Not much. I should. I probably should.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's something that could happen.
Yeah.
Usually, there's no rules.
Yeah. And some dogs will. I mean, Wapo won't care, but some dogs will.
Will what?
Care about it being on the wrong side.
It's confusing to the dog, right? Yeah, it's really confusing to the dog. It's interesting. Well, like I said, I want to get a puppy. counting the days. I mean, I just don't want to. I don't want to get rid of one of my dogs to get a puppy.
Nah, I think you have a good pack. I love your dogs.
I mean, my dogs. I mean, like Goofy's here. He's 11 years old. He's like the salt of the earth. He's just the best dog. And I said, look, and I had him out yesterday, and I was doing some sleep work with him, and he was just having a blast, like just a blast. But when I get my puppy.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm excited.
You're in. Yeah, you're in for sure. So, all right, you got open invitation here anytime. And have you want to come out? You want to push anything? You want to plug anything?
Nah, I mean, if you guys want to follow my my Instagram, Elevated Canine Academy,
okay,
or Oscar Mora Dogs, and then YouTube Oscar Mora Dogs. Yeah, hopefully I'll be putting more content soon, and
let's do it
with your help.
Yeah, I'm here for you. I want you to do it.
Man.
I want you to succeed.
I appreciate you answering all the questions.
Anytime. You call me anytime. And I'm going to put a link to all your stuff down below so that people have it. Cool. And we'll have you back.
Awesome, man.
All right, man.